Hello, welcome back. Tonight I will speak about Asmodeus. It is a grimoire that I've written, a book that I published on Amazon. And so Asmodeus is an interesting character, important character. And it appears, as I've said in my book, as the main character. So it is the Grimoire of Asmodeus, no? We say it is his name. We say, well, Asmodeus is king, there are certain facts that one knows about Asmodeus. And they say, well, that's how one starts to speak about Asmodeus in this way, no? So, well, the element of the king is, of course, very important, no? It is king, the number 4, it's a combination between king and Asmodeus as well as his name. So the element of the king is very strong, comes very strongly forward. And so it is a different energy to the, in the other grimoire I have written King Payment, we say King Payment 2 is king, is the element of the king. So the element of the king is, it carries a certain weight to it, a certain rounding to it, a certain honor with it, no? It carries a lot of meaning too. So one can meditate on the thematic of king, what that word means, or what that energy is, or what that element of or qualities of being a king. But I will not focus so much on it, because even if the element of king appears, Asmodeus' name is greater than that. It's the meaning too. When I said King Asmodeus, the king, of course, is already high, no? But the name of Asmodeus is higher. So it is the element of Asmodeus more important than the element of the king. So I'll say, first and foremost, it's not a king that we imagine like in school books, or the king of like the fairy tales, no? So the king Asmodeus carries a certain duty, a certain honor, a certain seriousness to it as well. So it is, when I say king, it carries a certain weight to it, no? And the element of prince is the same. So it is synonymic. King and prince is the same word, just different times, no? So the prince will be a king, the king was a prince, and the prince became a king, no? So we say, to be a king, you have to be a prince first, no? So there's a certain step to that place too of the throne, no? So we don't see Asmodeus on the throne, we see him always standing. So it's the element of that high honor that the element of the king carries to his name. And of course, Asmodeus accepts that power, no? That element of the king, because he is king. There is nothing more. Of course, he embodies that element of the king. But the interest, of course, is the name Asmodeus. That's why on my page, my front cover of the book, you will see Asmodeus, because that's the main part of the book. That's what interests me. I'm not interested necessarily in the element of the king of Asmodeus, why he's king and what the king does and has his little horse. No, this element can be even a little comedy. It can be even a little like sarcastic, no? Well, say it has different meanings as well. But those meanings, as I've said, do not touch the element of King Asmodeus, no? How I approach the thematic already speaks about how I will create the book or the grimoire. There's a certain understanding that comes before speaking or reading a book about Asmodeus, no? It is necessarily knowledge to understand who the character is. And so in my grimoires, of course, the main focus is the character. So the character is the grimoire in the book, no? It carries that element, exactly as the element of the king to the element of Asmodeus, no? In a symbolical way. So it's it moves from 1 to 2, no? There's the element of, something does change, and not only changes, it's on a higher level, no? So if we have king is number 1, Asmodeus is number 2, no? It's the element of the second. So we say, in the element of the prince too, prince and king is the element of second. Number 2 is correlated to Asmodeus. We see it even in his name, Asmodeus. We have two sounds, no, in 4 syllables. So Asmodeus, no? And so when we have the 2, the 4, and the 8. So the element of Asmodeus is very interesting as well. So it has order, and at the same time it changes. It has it's almost like a joke that is funny, then it becomes sarcastic, or an element of something funny can be tragic, or tragic funny, no? The element that sometimes combine themselves as well. well, there's a certain humor, of course. To say, well, the element of the king, of course, of course the king has humor. The element of humor is very important to the element of the king, no? But not in a funny way, not in a sarcastic way, but in a way that, well, the king has to know how to take jokes, or has to know how to make jokes. The element of the humor, at the same time, does not fit to Asmodeus so much, no? It is a contradiction, because, well, he is very serious as well, no? So we have, as I said, element of 2, 4, 8. It multiplies, it changes, something becomes more. So the element of this, we can see it even the element of the color. The color purple is the color of Asmodeus. To say, well, it has a hue, it has a color too. That, so, well, the purple is connected to the blue, no? So from blue we have purple, and then, so, well, or purple from blue, now it goes to the black. So, well, the three colors, it's blue, purple, black, and the element of white too. So it's the element of the 4. And exactly appears too in his name. Now we have Asmo, together, Asmo and Deus. I've spoken in the other recording about his name, the element of the Asmo, what that word could mean or represent, from my opinion, no? Element of Deus, or Dei, which represents the element of God, is translated in this way, no? So, well, the name too has a lot of meaning behind the name, or the color too that I chose, no? As an example for the front cover, it has a correlation to the character, no? It's things that me as a writer, to say, well, think about those elements very deeply before I even write my book or my grimoire. There's a representation of that too that appears. At the same time, there's a freedom to my book, no? To my grimoire, because, well, once it opens, no? The first page, it speaks about Asmodeus, it speaks about his story, or the thing that Asmodeus represents or speaks about himself. And it is written in a hymn form, it's an element of the hymn, written in verses with a certain rhythms, with a certain syllabs or metaphor, a special rhyme at the end as well. It is almost like a lyrical text, a hymn form, no? It is, as I said, very Greek. The hymnus comes from the Greeks. So there is the element of something about the Greek that is correlated to Asmodeus, no? So, well, not necessarily to say that he is from that part or region, but he does carry some elements of that culture as well, a certain level of that culture, of course, no? So, well, the Greeks have very high culture, so it's the element of the high culture that combines the Asmodeus. Or to say a high Wissenschaft, no? The element in German of Wissen, to know, no? Element of knowledge. So, well, it translates in different languages, no? It's the element of more languages. There's the element of Asmodeus as well. So, well, from this language comes this world. I can say, well, if I take 2 letters, I can already try to find the meaning of that word, even if maybe it's a language I've never seen. And then it moves, it plays, it changes. To say, well, it is a special type of intellect that Asmodeus carries. It is a special type of finesse, a special type of quality, you know, that what makes Asmodeus, a certain type of intelligence. To say, well, it is unique. To say, it's not enough to say highly intelligent, it is unique intelligent, no? And this is a recording part of a playlist where I speak about Asmodeus and his characters. I speak about my book, my grimoires. So say I have written until now 11 grimoires, and so Asmodeus is a very important grimoire from my collection, and it carries a lot of beautiful deep meaning. The element of the color always speaks about the element of beauty. It's when you imagine a deep purple or a deep blue or a very perfect white, no, the element is very beautiful, as the element of the black too is very elegant, no? So, well, the black carries a lot of meaning, a lot of power behind the element of the color black, no? It is elements, so, well, it is magical, no? We have black, it has 5 letters, 5 is always the element of magic. At the same time, so, well, of course, it speaks about mystery, the element of black. It is a very potent color, it represents the earth, no? The deep earth, no? Is the element of very, very potent, very beautiful, very deep, the deep purple or the deep violet. we say it is deep color, no? And the deep violet too is correlated to the element of royal. Blue is always something royal. So the royal of Asmodeus has these colors. It has the deep blue, it has the deep violet, it has the white. It's almost like a flag, no? It's almost say like and the black, no? To say in the same time in the color scheme, no? There is the, I always think of the Goethe, the Farm, no? Farmlehre from Goethe. It has that color too that moves, no? So from the violet, no? Becomes also more, so from the blue becomes the violet, no? Then transforms into the black. And the element of the white as well is included in the element of the blue, no? Very much correlated to the white with the blue, and the violet too with the dark, with the black color. So I will say these are the colors of Asmodeus. This is a presentation that, it's also in the book cover as well. At the same time, in the Grimoire, Asmodeus describes himself very much on the element of the black. That's why I like my Grimoire of Asmodeus so much, because there is a lot of meaning in the color black. There is a lot of metaphors, a lot of very strong, that potency that comes with it as well through my verses. That's why I try to recreate that element of Asmodeus. And the book has around 200 pages. You will say it is a very beautiful Grimoire of Asmodeus. And there's an entire playlist where I speak about Asmodeus. If you are interested, there is a link in the description box below where you can purchase the book, or the link to the book as well to the playlist of Asmodeus. And Asmodeus is a book that's published in paper, and it is part of my collection Galactica, of my first 11 grimoires, Galactica Encyclopedia Volume 1, which is a digital product where I included all my 11 grimoires until now. And Asmodeus, it is of course less than the other grimoires, only 200 pages, but it has that potency in the book through the verses, through the story. It is not always about the number of the pages, no? It speaks too about the thematic. It's almost like sometimes the number of pages is very much connected to the thematic of the book as well, no? So if I speak about silence, or if I speak about this, it has to be a larger book, or as in the case of King Payment, no? So it is a bigger thematic as well. But the thematic of Asmodeus is the same big as King Payment. It's the element of both being king, no? It is not less. I'm not lowering their value through the comparing of the pages. In the same time, it has a meaning to my books as well, how many pages there are, no? That speaks to the character, speaks to the book back, you know? So in the case of Asmodeus, it's the element of potency. To say, it has to say the 200 pages, no? It is something more, like a ink, like a blue ink or violet ink. It takes more space, it has more depth in the book itself, or the content of the book, no? Yeah, and in the case of King Payment, it's almost like there was the element of the many pages, the thematic too, no? It was very, to say, long. And tonight I will speak about the beautiful description of the element of Asmodeus, the way he appears, which I find very intriguing, very beautiful. And there's always to say a contrast that comes to Asmodeus, a certain beauty that carries a contrast, you know. And that contrast, it is that part that makes one not almost want to take the eyes away from him. It is that beautiful, it is that intricate, it is that powerful, it is that magnificent, you know. So when I say beauty, it includes all these elements. And so of course the element of the high intelligence, so that part of the super intelligence, so what words to call it, no? It is that unique part of Asmodeus, as well unique as each one of us as well, no? It's the element of Asmodeus gives that back, no? But there is a certain passiveness, passiveness the meaning of the way he looks, but very active on the element of the inside. And it has this very beautiful decorations, beautiful light that comes with him. There is the element maybe of the sky when it's like, when it gets darker in the evening. That white, blue, color of the sky transform into the black night, that is to say the palette or the colors of Asmodeus as well, say a certain feeling that comes from his presence. In the same time, the element of the hot sun or the hot summer, at the same time in the sun or in the shadow as well, to say, well, he carries the element of the light, the shadow, and the total dark. And the element of the dark in Asmodeus, that's why I say it is my, one of my favorite grimoires that I've written, is that element of many, of the memory, the element of the childhood or the insects, or that teachings that Asmodeus offer at a very young age, it is something, like given, and say, well, the child, say, well, it is, if it's my memories, it's the element of the child, or when I was a child, and then it's like something that you see in nature that represents Asmodeus, and you stay there and you observe it for a long time. It is very intriguing, very beautiful. So when Asmodeus carries exactly those qualities, it's like you fall in love without you even knowing that you fall in love. It is that pure, it is that beautiful. And there is a certain simplicity and complexity combined that comes to Asmodeus, which I find very intriguing, very beautiful as well. Well, especially the element of simplicity. And then we have the element of the colors, or this beautiful change in the sky of the colors, So, well, maybe it's white, and then it goes into blue or into violet sky, in the evening, and then goes into the black, It is the palette of Asmodeus. It is the element of the evening, it is the element of the night, and it is, of course, the element of the morning, concept of the day too, something like a clock. It has that element. Say, well, sometimes he appears, sometimes you don't know he appears, But say, well, I can identify for myself which is element of Asmodeus, or what he showed me when I was a child, or what I have seen, It is, as I said, nothing complex, it is simple, But it carries that meaning. This is very much Asmodeus. It represents the element of Asmodeus. It can be little or insignificant, but it carries a lot of meaning. It carries a lot of beauty. One cannot take the eyes away from, To say, well, what is love? Love is that element of simplicity and beauty, It does not take long. It is simply a glance. The element is very much Asmodeus. And of course, this element of the nature, the element of the insects, or the element of the hot sun or the sky, or the hot summer, but can be many different other elements as well. Maybe it's more on the colder tone, maybe it's the evening, or maybe it's the rain, or maybe a different memory that can say, well, it is very much Asmodeus teaching something. And when one reads my grimoire, sees those elements that I include in the book, So, well, it is connected to a memory of my childhood or a feeling that I had, It is very much connected to the element of curiosity, Or the element of prosperity, or the element of, on the under layout, it's always the element of learning. It's very much Asmodeus. To say, well, king, as well, the king has the element of the learning always. And the intricate or the beautiful element, well, it can be something only black. It does not have to have color, to attract my eyes, But the element of the black is even more interesting than the element of the color. If one observes the black, you will stay longer than when you look in the color. It is that captivating, What is the element of the night? It is the element of the serenity. It does well. The color black, I say almost like relaxes the eye, So we sleep in the night. It's the element of that beauty of the night that comes with it as well. Another important aspect of how Asmodeus represents himself in my grimoires is like the main important part of my Grimoire of Asmodeus is of course that interest, how he represents himself. At the same time, while he is very, very potent, one feels the power of Asmodeus, one understands who he is. Now, it's that element, something extremely serious, no? I would say learning is very serious. It is correct, so, no? So it's always the element of correctness or the element of the truth. We said knowledge does not exist without truth, so it is already included. If it's not true, it is not knowledge. It is simply not knowledge. If it's true, then it's knowledge. No? So, well, Asmodeus knows the steps before one reaches at the gate. It is that intellect. No? So, well, how one can explain that? No? It is Asmodeus. One has to understand. So, well, it is that power. So it is that beauty. Another thing of Asmodeus is, as I've said, element of simplicity. If it's not element of simplicity, it is not Asmodeus. Simplicity is the number one for Asmodeus. Because simplicity is pure. That's the highest type of intellect that Asmodeus understands. So, well, his teachings are very important. You know, I'm not talking here about a little character. I know that, no? So it's that very much Asmodeus. It's like, I have this opinion, but now I think this. You know, it's almost like, now I'm here. It's an element of, you know, yet now. There is a certain power that comes to it. That's very much Asmodeus. At the same time, it can be very tranquil. It is passive. Most of the element of the Asmodeus is passive as well. But it carries a certain potency with it as well. A certain understanding, a certain knowledge that comes. It is very much element of the child. The child too is very much this type of energy I'm trying to say. No, I'm very much here. That's the element too of Asmodeus. And the metaphors that I've used in the book too are very interesting. So, well, the element of the black, or the element, how different metaphors of the element of the black as well. The black is very important when it comes to Asmodeus. Then on the cover, from the way he looks or the appearance of Asmodeus, now we see, I've spoken in other recordings too about the colors, or the description of, say, well, his appearance. And what I find most interesting in the element of Asmodeus is the element of the king, is the element of his name. Now, it's a very beautiful name as well. It of course represents him very well. It is, to say, a complex understanding as well. Is that it's not that easy, you know. So there is the element of complexity, or something more complicated, no, or something more steps to get there, no. But it's Asmodeus is very sure in himself. It's that element of him being very sure in himself. And I think these are different qualities Asmodeus tries to teach, no? So, well, one teaches through example, no? So, you know, there is a certain strictness that comes to Asmodeus. At the same time, it is the element of the artist. He's very free, very artistic in his way of being, very unique, no? And that's what creates that interest in his personality. That's what creates that part of the kaleidoscopic part of his personality. You know, so, well, how many facets does Asmodeus have? You know, how many angles? How many different mirrors? How many different colors? It's always like, how many? You know, it's very much element of Asmodeus. The element of the interest. You know, it's like, well, if I'm observing insect, you know. So, well, how long I'm going to observe it? Well, you say, well, it depends. It's an interesting question. This would be Asmodeus' way to answer, no? There's always an element of the more, but it's like inclined to maybe, no? This is a certain type of game. There's a certain type of movement in his personality as well. Well, it's the element of freedom, of who he is, no? That's part of the uniqueness. So, well, Asmodeus is very beautiful, no? So, well, King Asmodeus is very beautiful. We have the element of the beautiful very much. And so, well, as I've said, includes many different qualities, no? but it is serene. He does not speak. It is very serene, very much Asmodeus. The element of observation, where I said, if I don't speak, I am observed, this element of observation is very much Asmodeus. To say, well, if I'm sitting in my desk and I'm studying or learning and I'm trying to gather information of books, how I do it faster, how I train my intellect to memorize, how I try to think, how I'm planning my next move, or how I'm, it's like the element of planning, the element of observation, but it's the element of the intellect, As well, the intellect of Asmodeus is a very high type of intellectual. If I was to see him write in a book, it will be very unique and very true, will be very much Asmodeus, will be captivating, will be very interesting, very beautiful, very well created, very fine. So the element of the artist is the element of the fine, the artistry, Well, when I speak about Asmodeus, everything will be the artistry. For example, poetry will be like perfect poetry, or perfect drawing, or perfect writing, or elements that are in drawings, very much element of the scientist as well. So, the element of the king includes those elements. So, the king is educated, the king is trained, the king knows many, is very highly intellectual. So, this all appears and they are part of Asmodeus, but he does not come with that. His presence is serene. It is as the blue night sky. It is calmly. Of course, one can learn and understand a lot, But to say, Asmodeus teaches through the quietness. Asmodeus teaches through that passiveness. Asmodeus teaches through the element of the silence, but a very beautiful, poetic, almost like a majestic type of silence. It is element of I'm outside in the night and I see a beautiful sky, And so it is element of Asmodeus. It is very beautiful. That's why I say, that's why I love Asmodeus as much as I do, You say he carries something I have never seen, and it is unique, it is beautiful in all angles, in all ways I can look. It is all that, So if I was to study him, so from all his angles, he is who he is, Asmodeus. It is so beautiful to see him, You say, it is magnificent from all angles. It is perfection, even more, It is very much Asmodeus. The same, if you look at a bird and you observe her, you see all the element of the different colors. Every color you look is even more beautiful. It's like, oh my god, red, and then the blue, it's shining, and then the gold has this, and it's always more. It's almost like you fall in love, It's very much the same feeling when one sees Asmodeus. It is the element of something very creative, very beautiful, very unique. At the same time, it carries that potent element of the black, of the ink, the way he represents himself, that's the real Asmodeus. At the same time, of course, he has different parts of his personality as well. And I do invite my readers to, of course, read the Grimoire of Asmodeus as well. It's almost like, it's almost like more my opinion about him or my book. It's like one has to create his own idea about Asmodeus as well. It is almost like a separate journey. It is to say my journey or the understanding of Asmodeus has been mine the way it was for me, through my childhood or through writing the book or the grimoire or on the thematic, working on the thematic of Asmodeus, which I do find very interesting. That's why I recommend others as well. I think Asmodeus teaches in a very beautiful way, and it is not complicated. So beautiful is not complicated. It sounds like he teaches and de-teaches, It's things that are learned wrong, or things that one does not understand. Asmodeus is a good teacher, the best teacher, But to say it is not the role of Asmodeus. Asmodeus is not the teacher. Asmodeus is king. But the king carries the element of it, of course. It's very much Asmodeus. But there is a separation. There's very much element of Asmodeus. Like in a melody, you have 1, 2, 3 will be like, you know, but it's different. It's 1, 3, 2. You know, it's more interesting simply. That's the element of the more of Asmodeus. It can be recreated, you know, music or color or so, but it's that element that I speak about. No, so if it's 1, 3, 2, then we have 4, 5, 6, and then it's like a different type of melody that sometimes moves back or forth. No, it is simple. It is a simple melody, but it is, how to say, one has to understand too Asmodeus, you know, in a way that to say it is true. No, it is an element of true. And of course, my grimoire offers to a certain understanding of the thematic, you know, so there's nothing to criticize about my book in general. So it is my own creation, it is part of the knowledge, it is not all the knowledge that exists on Asmodeus, but I think it is a beautiful grimoire. I think it has some interesting aspects that, of course, if one is interested in the character King Asmodeus or King Payman, no? Or my other grimoires that I've written, can of course look at the cover or see the books or read the description, and of course buy, no, and read, and it is a unique experience, no? So I have created a book on this thematic, and the way I represented Asmodeus, it is my own way, no? My own understanding on the thematic, and it is a beautiful hymn, literally work, as I've said, which I think gives a certain type of beauty to my grimoires. It is not a simple text. As well, I put a lot of work, no, in the literary aspect of the books or my grimoires. It is not simply sentences, it is simple sentences, in the meaning that it has different form. It is a hymn, it is lyrical, it is, I say, like, has rhymes, no? It has a certain rhythm to it, a certain work that I have done on the text, no? To arrange it this way. And it carries the story in a different way than if I was to write it in sentences. But I could not write it in sentences, no? It has to be written in this hymn form. And this is how I write all my grimoires. And as I've said, there is the link in the description box below where you find the link direct to the book. And there's a link with the playlist of Asmodeus where I talk from the beginning, no, about his name. And so this is always a continuation from the other videos that I speak about. And I will record another time. Thank you so much for listening. Until then, thank you. Bye.